I call the meeting to order. Why don't we all please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Today we have a couple commissioners are not here, but they are excused for today's business or for today's meeting. It's Commissioner Steve Gardner and Commissioner Roger Imdeck. But we do still have a quorum. We still have Commissioner Dale Anderson and Commissioner Corky Berg and myself, Commissioner Dwayne Anderson, here to do business so that we can keep the lights on in the county. So at this time, I would accept a motion to accept or have a motion for approval of the agenda.
Also moved.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Dale Anderson made the motion to approve the agenda, and Commissioner Berg made a second. So is there any further discussion regarding the approval of the agenda? If not, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion passes. Next, we have the consent agenda. So these are action items that are just basically routine that we have basically every board meeting. So it's approval of the September 2nd County Board legal minutes. Item B is approval of auditors' warrants and claims. And item C is approval of human services warrants and claims.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All right, Commissioner Berg made the motion and Commissioner Dale Anderson seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor of approving the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is approved. Under general business now, we have Eric Tolfson is going to be here to introduce us or discuss Resolution 2025-31.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Eric Tollefson, Kennewick County Sheriff. Here this morning just to, before you is the annual enforcement grant from the Minnesota Office of Traffic Safety for Towards Zero Death grant for the grant period of October 1st of 25 through September 30th of 26. And this is for additional traffic enforcement above and beyond what we normally do. In years past, this was called the Safe and Sober Grant, and a number of years back, it was changed to Towards Zero Deaths. Total of the grant for this grant period is $68,250. So I'll just ask for your approval, or if you have any questions on the matter.
Okay, are there any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Berg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is that an increase or decrease or just stayed the same as last year's?
Yeah, it actually
previous
is.
year.
Yeah, to answer your question, it actually is up from last year. That unfortunately is dependent upon the number of crashes that we have. It takes a lot of things into consideration, but usually it's the crash data, or it is the crash data that they take into consideration. Last year, we had a unusually high number of fatalities in the county. We were in I think the top 12 counties within the state by the end of 2024. So yeah, it does fluctuate as a result of those numbers. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just give you a quick, about 76% of that total does go to actual enforcement. 14% of that goes to support services, so that actually pays extra dispatch staff and whatnot to get out there. And then another 10%, and then also for, kind of a marketing aspect, for doing ads and that kind of thing. And then a small portion, about 10%, is kind of discretionary if we need to purchase small items or whatever. But the bulk of it does go to actual officers on the road. And that's divided amongst Kennewick County deputies, Wilmer police officers, and Atwater police as well. State Patrol is they get their own grant or whatever for the area, so.
Thank you.
Right, so that's basically to help do law enforcement in those areas
Correct.
that you're describing here, seat
Yeah.
belt, speed.
Yep, they divide it up also. You can even go further into the weeds. About 34% goes to impaired driving enforcement, so designated shifts for impaired driving. 14% for both seatbelt enforcement, 14% for speed enforcement, 12% for distracted driving, hands-free kind of thing. And then they do one wave, usually about 1% of the grant goes to the move over law, where you're required to move over when you approach a stopped emergency vehicle.
So I got a quick question about that. When you see like an ambulance or something with their lights on, you pull over. Now if it's like 4-lane and it's divided, do they pull over, or is it just in the ones that are directly affected? I mean, how do you,
So
I always kind of pull
yeah.
over.
Yeah, I get it. Two parts to your question there. So if it's a stopped emergency vehicle or authorized vehicle, doesn't have to necessarily be law enforcement. It could be an ambulance, it could be a highway worker or whatever with their emergency lights on. If they're stopped on the side of the road, if you're in a divided highway that has more than one lane going each direction, then you're required to, if at all feasible, move over to the left lane and reduce your, as you go past. If you're just on a 2-lane, like Highway 12 west of town here, then you have to reduce your speed. And if you can, give them some room, but for the most part, you're just required to reduce your speed. But the moving over into the other lane is only actually required when there's more than 2 lanes.
That's the ones that are stopped.
Correct.
And not necessarily the ones driving.
And if they're moving, if one approaches you from behind, then you're required to pull to the right and stop. And even on a 4-lane, you're still required to pull farthest to the right. A lot of people pull to the left, but by
Yeah,
law.
I did that
yeah.
one time. I was so flustered, I didn't see him till.
Yeah, that was probably a small little one question on the driver's exam many years ago, so, yeah.
All right. Okay, well, thank you. Well, we have a resolution before us. What is the board's wishes?
I'll move resolution 2025-31.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that motion.
Okay, Commissioner Dale Anderson made the motion. Commissioner Berg made the second to approve resolution 2025-31. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor of resolution 2025-31 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion passes. Now we move on to,
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
thank you. Melissa Helgeson, you are up.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
I am Melissa Helgeson, and I supervise our home and community-based waiver programs, as well as adult foster care licensing. I've been here before, and I've talked about our waivers and all of that, but I want to talk to you about another program that's a little bit less known about in the world in our world. It's called Family Support Grant. And Family Support Grant is It is a statewide program that provides cash grants to eligible families with children who have been certified disabled. Historically, we have not used Family Support Grant a lot in Candiota County. It is, again, it's a grant from the state. It is no county funds. We spend, we get reimbursed. Candiota County's Family Support Grant allotment has been about $5,000 a year. And so it's a minimal amount, but it also has room for growth. What Family Support Grant does is it helps families access disability services and supports, prevents out-of-home placement for children who have disabilities, promotes family health and social well-being, and support families in transition-related activities for dependents ages 14 to 24. The eligibility, to be eligible for Family Support Grant, the individual needs to be younger than the age of 25. They need to live in their biological or adoptive home. The biological or adoptive family has an annual adjusted gross income below statutory limits, and that currently for 2025 is $130,807. So it is it's higher income. Except in cases where hardship, if the family has multiple children, if they have extensive debt due to, related to the child's disability, we could go above that income guideline. The child needs to be certified disabled through either Social Security Administration, the State Medical Review Team, or SMART, or have a Rule 185 developmental disability determination, which is done by my staff. And then within the last couple of years, they've also added children who have a severe emotional disturbance and are receiving Rule 79 targeted case management also qualify. People who are on a waiver, people who are getting PCA or CFSS services do not qualify for family support grant. So that's where historically we haven't utilized it a lot because we are serving a large number of people appropriately under waivers. We have started to look more at family support grant as we see more and more referrals come into our MnChoices team, more and more waiver cases. What are the needs? If it is like a one-time thing, we might be able to do it with family support grant. So family support grant covers, some of the things that it can cover would be computers or electronic tablets. Keep in mind, as I go through this list, it is for children with a disability, and this item is related to that disability. So if someone comes in and says, you know, my kids start in 7th grade, they need a computer, no, we can't do that. But if the child was using some sort of device in school to communicate and they needed that at home, that would be an example. Daycare expenses above and beyond typical parental costs. So say you have a child who is 15 with significant disabilities, diagnosed disabilities, and they can't be left alone. 15-year-olds don't go to daycare. So, you know, we could utilize family support grant for the family to bring someone in to help provide care to that child. Education expenses that are not already covered by the Minnesota Department of Education. Medical services not covered by MA if the recipient is on MA or private insurance. Family support grant can be used to cover some medical stuff when those things are not in place. Again, related to the disability. Family support grant can be used to cover medications that are prescribed by a licensed physician related to a disability need. It can cover respite care. Family has a young kiddo and they just need a break. They might have a neighbor and they can utilize that neighbor. The nice thing with family support grant is we're working with the families. We're not having to use licensed providers. So you could hire your neighbor to twice a month take your child for a Saturday afternoon. That can happen. Specialized clothing. We've used it for that, or specialized diets prescribed by a physician that is related to that child's disability and not with a typical child. Transportation not covered under medical assistance or waivered services. Family support grant, now as I said, Candido County's allocation for 2025 was $5,000. We have spent that, and I have gotten approval from the state for an additional $3,000. I'm gonna back up a little bit now. So someone calls our MnChoices line and they say, I need to have a MnChoices, we need to go on a waiver because we need respite care. We're now having some internal questions. Could we look at family support grant? We need to go on a waiver because we need to purchase some home security systems or door alarms. Let's look at family support grant. Can we do that? So we're trying to be more creative because if we can meet the family's needs without them having to go through an assessment, without them having to go on a waiver, we will do that. We've also had some situations where someone calls and they need something right now. They need those alarms on that door because that kiddo is sneaking out all the time and running into the street. The assessment process takes time. And so we can't, if we look at family support grant, if they're eligible, we could hurry up, use family support grant, get that piece of that immediate need met, and they can still go do their assessment and eventually get on the waiver. So we're trying to be very, very creative. Family support grant, the state, this is money the state wants us to spend. They want us to spend it. Every county receives an allocation based on their spending. And again, the state is very much, if you need more, so I just sent in 3 requests to the state. I tell them, here's what I need, here's what we have left. They say, go ahead, we'll give you the funds. The allocation for families, it's a limited, this is a weird number, and it's been this number forever and ever, but it's limited to $3,113.99. So we can do that in a lump sum. We can do that in monthly payments depending on what they need. We've primarily used it in a lump sum. Some examples that we have used, I have helped families purchase sensory equipment. You know, $3,000 goes a long way in those situations, and they might not. So we've done that. We The other thing is we've really collaborated a lot with our children's teams. Most of my referrals that come to me for family support grant are coming from the children's mental health worker. Because that was that added piece back 2 or 3 years ago. So we partner together. I give the children's mental health worker the application, they fill it out, they meet with the family, get it signed, it comes back to me, and I approve it. So we're collaborating that way. I think family support grant, we're using it to the best of our ability to, if that will meet the needs of the families, that's what we want to do. And I just want to share one scenario because it really, to me, this was a big success story, but Children's Mental Health came to me and they had a child who was struggling with anxiety, was struggling with depression, not being confident in themselves, had a lot of hygiene issues, was getting picked on in school. The situation for this family is for various reasons, the bathroom didn't work for the child, the bathtub. Couldn't, because of size and whatnot. We utilized Family Support Grant. We utilized the grant in December of 1 year and January of the next year, which is completely acceptable. We were able to make payments to the contractor who was able to do a bathroom remodel. So Family Support Grant paid a portion and the family paid the portion. That child is now showering, bathing with no prompts from family. There's no fighting. There's no more issues and concerns. And that's just, it was an easy fix. But, if you're needing to, if you don't have the financial means to do that, it's hard. Or to have to go on a waiver in order to do a modification. So again, we're limited because we're not talking a large amount of money, but it's very helpful and useful. I just had a conversation this week with an occupational therapist asking me what kind of equipment can the waiver cover for some of the kids that we're working with that are autistic or have these different things. And I said, let's talk about family support grant, because if it's just a few items, that is the easiest, fastest way to go. And it's someone meeting with the family, get an application signed, I approve it, work with financial to get it ordered. It's pretty easy process. So I kind of wanted to share that because I don't think people are aware of that program, and it does do some pretty cool things. And I'm expecting when we get our allocation for 2026, we'll probably get more than $5,000. Some counties, I've seen some counties that are, 50, 60, if not higher. So the more you use it, the more you're gonna get.
Okay. So I have a question about
Yes.
that. So that's only 5,000 a year.
Yep.
For everybody that needs it. There can't be very many that get that help, but even though it's helpful, do you piggyback it with other programs, or is it?
Family support grant we can only use it when there isn't another pay source. So if MA should cover it, we can't do it.
There's
If
no
waiver-
piggyback option type of thing, okay.
No, but but sometimes some of the requests are, door locks are not very expensive, but for some people, $30, $40, $50 to purchase something like that. So not everybody gets that full amount. And again, as long as I have a plan and I can say we're going to use it, for years, when I came here, family support grant wasn't being utilized. So to say that we've spent $8,000 in family support grant this year is really, really cool because we weren't doing it before. So yeah, it's limited, it's not huge, but it is very, very helpful, and I have not had the state yet tell me, no, we're not gonna give you more.
All right, thank you. Is there any other questions? Commissioner Dale Anderson.
Well, not a question, but yeah, thanks for doing that. I mean, it sounds like it's a great option for little things that can make a big difference in somebody's life, and that's kind of what it, I think, is intended for, from what you're saying. So,
Yes,
yeah, thanks a lot.
yep.
Mr. Chair. Yeah, just pretty much the same kind of follow-up. That's really exciting to hear that. It really does fill a gap. And I bet you wish all of the programs, the waiver programs were, I won't say simple, but that you could immediately get the help for people and do the things you're doing. Excellent. It's just one more good toolbox and filling up a gap in services.
And absolutely, and that's the thing. Someone could come to me today and say, I need this, and I work with fiscal, and we could have it done by the end of the day.
Okay.
So,
So a small amount of money that does big things.
Absolutely,
Okay.
Makes a
absolutely.
difference. That's
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you much.
thank you.
Okay, we will move on. We got Housing and Redevelopment Authority update with Jill. And I think maybe an action item as well.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Jill Bankson, Executive Director at the Candioi County HRA. And yeah, my purpose for being here today is to make our tax levy request for 2026, which would be an action item for you guys to consider and approve or deny. But I'm going to kind of run through a quick little report here and give some information about our agency. In your handouts, you see our list of board of directors and staff who are all very dedicated to the agency and try to do the best for our community and the people that we serve and try and do that as efficiently with our dollars as we can. A couple notes and highlights for the year. As you probably remember, in 2023, the state of Minnesota approved a large amount of funding for new housing programs. And this is the year they've started to unroll those programs. So we've done a lot of grant writing earlier this year. Minnesota Housing has awarded us $922,112 to administer a new state-funded rental assistance program. It's called Bring It Home. And this provides monthly rental assistance payments to landlords on behalf of about 50 households that will be living in either Candioi, Ohio, or McLeod counties. So currently, we were just selected a few months ago. We're still putting plans and getting information to MHFA. Then we'll get our grant agreement, and this will probably unroll sometime in 2026. Minnesota Housing also awarded us $150,000 this was a program we were waiting for to apply for matching dollars for the County Housing Trust Fund program. Again, we were just notified about this, just had our due diligence meeting with MHFA last week. Now need to get them plans and documents, and then again, we'll get our grant agreement, and we should be ready to go in, I'm assuming in about January of 2026. And then finally, we've been awarded $2,639,590 for capital improvements at Lakeview Apartments. There's always big capital improvements to do in that 8-story apartment building. So these funds are going to help with roof replacement, the main electrical gear system, and then fire alarm system upgrades there. The next few pages, I won't go through it in great detail, but just gives you information about all the projects that we own or manage on behalf of other owners. And you can see pictures of them and how many units there are, what maximum rents are, and pretty much everything. People pay 30% of their adjusted gross income towards their rent, and there's other subsidies that pay the rest of those amounts up to the rent amounts. We also, projects that we manage for private parties include West Central Mental Health Housing, 12-unit project here in Wilmer. Dana Heights Apartments, also in Wilmer here, it's a 48-unit, 2 apartment buildings plus 24 townhomes, combine that project. Westwind Townhomes located in Wilmer, a 28-unit project owned by the Southwest Minnesota Housing Partnership. Highland Apartments, the HRA is actually a small minority owner in it, which we had sold that project about a decade ago already to get funds to rehab that whole building. We manage McLeod County HRA activities. They have 72 units located in Stewart, Broughton, Glencoe, Silver Lake, and Lester Prairie. And then we do their rental assistance programs over there. And 15th Street Flats is an out-of-state owner, and we manage that property here in Wilmer. Tenant-based rental assistance programs, we technically can assist up to 591 households, but those are programs that are budget-based, so as rent goes up, we serve fewer people in those households, just because the budget does not stretch as much anymore. We'll see what kind of changes happen to that program in the new federal year. That's all kind of looming with program changes and funding amounts. Bridges to Bridges program is another rental assistance program that we administer on behalf of the Southwest Minnesota Adult Mental Health Consortium. It serves 18 counties in the Southwest Minnesota area. We still do have a small homeowner rehab project going in the city of Atwater. We have a down payment assistance loan program. And then every year, we apply to the state for a set-aside of mortgage funds, which local banks access. Currently in the year, 13 loans have been made for these funds, specifically in Candy-Ojai County. Last year, there were 38 loans made, and the year prior, there were 28. For 2026, the HRA's tax levy request is $1,181,512, which represents a $31,062 increase, or 2.7%, from our current levy of $1,150,450. Of that budget amount, $150,000 of that will go to the Housing Trust Fund to keep funding that annually. You can see a couple pie charts of how our revenue and expenses are broke up. Most of our funding comes from the federal or state level. It represents 43% of our annual budget, followed by the tax levy at 19%. Fees for service means other projects or programs we manage for other entities represents 18% of our revenue. And then rent that we collect or fees and interest from homeowner loans or tenant rent also represents 18%. Our expenses, because we are a human service agency, our biggest expense is administration, and that $2.6 million accounts for everything to manage the organization. So it's your staffing, your office rent, your everything to run your office, your liability insurance. Followed by rental assistance is our next biggest expense. So that's going to be Federal Department of HUD funding and the Bridges to Bridges program, followed by building maintenance, repairs, and capital costs for the projects that we own, and then home or business loans and building taxes, insurance, and debt service. With that, I would stand for any questions.
All right. Let's see, I have a question here. So are these rental units, are they available to anybody, or is there like a dollar limit? I think some are based on
Yes,
their
they
income.
are, except for the McLeod HRA townhomes or the townhomes that the HRA has in Pennack, Raymond, New London, and Candy-Ojai. Those are market rate. There are not income restrictions on that. But everything else is income restricted to either 80% median income or 60%. Yep.
Thank you. Is there any other questions?
Yes. Mr. Chair, thank you. Just a couple questions. Bridges to Bridges and this Minnesota Housing, is any federal dollars involved in that at all? I think I've heard some cuts about some of the housing.
In the Bridges to Bridges program. So, yeah, that's fun. So Southwest Minnesota Adult Mental Health, I believe, receives that funding from the State Health and Human Services Office. So, but it's not from the funding that was just recently cut by the governor for that. It's different funding that they receive
It is.
from there.
All right, I've misunderstood that. Thank you for clarifying that. A couple, if I may follow up.
Yep, go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, thank you. Great service. And in so many different areas too that you hit and help people out. They need it. They'd be homeless, some of the people I know of. I don't know personally of, but I know who they are, let's put it that way. But my other question is all the housing pretty well full?
Yes.
You
Yes.
generally operate on a full,
It is full. I will just say, since this is live too, it's probably a good plug for the program. So the rental assistance program, the waiting list has been closed for a couple years. We just opened that waiting list last week, and that will be open until December 19th. So any households that are renters and needing rental assistance this would be the time to come to our office and get on our waiting list. So I know I know we're at 100 households already since we opened last Tuesday, so.
okay. And one last question, if I may. Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair, again. The request was a 2.7% increase on the levy. Do you recall what it was last year? Or for this year?
No, we had a much larger
That's
increase
what I was
then
wondering. Yes, that
because we
sounds-
were putting fundings away for land purchase, and we have not purchased anything yet, but we did consider a few places. But yes,
still in the works.
but I'm sorry, I don't know, I don't remember the
That's fine.
percentage, but it was a
I
big
was
jump.
recalling it
Yeah.
was large, and I was really glad to see 2.7
Yeah,
this
yes.
year. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Otherwise, I guess we have an action item here to request,
All right, I guess it's my turn. There's only two of us make motions, or three of us technically. I move to accept this request for the budget levy.
motion's been made. Is there, Commissioner Berg made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Dale Anderson made a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor of the approving this HRA request signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
And thank you very
Jill.
much.
Yep, thank you. Next up is a resolution. Presenting is Gary Gear.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and yes, as you just noted, my name is Gary Gear, Canada County Environmental Services Director, and I'm here this morning presenting resolution number 2025-32, the Solid Waste Management Tax Market Price Resolution. And it's an annual resolution that we do because of our low tipping fee at the landfill. Ultimately, we're paying the difference between the market rate and the subsidized rate. We're paying the solid waste portion of the solid waste management tax. So that's what this resolution establishes, and it is declaring a market price of $63.05 per ton to be established for calendar year 2026. So staff would be,
Is it 6305 or 6105? On here it says 6105.
I knew you'd see that.
I see
The
63.
resolution is correct, 6305. I had a typo in the agenda
Okay.
item
Yeah,
report,
it's in
so
the
that shows
resolution part.
6105. That's in error, 6305 is correct. So staff's recommending approval of the resolution as presented at 6305.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I'll move resolution 2025-32.
Okay, a motion's been made by Commissioner Dale Anderson. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded by Commissioner Berg. Is there any more questions or discussion? If not, those in favor of approving resolution 2025-32 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
And next up, we have a few items here, and Jeremy Pfeiffer will be presenting these.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As you mentioned, my name is Jeremy Pfeiffer. I'm Assistant Engineer with the County Public Works Department. And I have a few things here for you this morning. The first one is the final payment and acceptance on a project we had last year, SAP 034-600-006, which is the reconstruction project of County Road 104. It would be the dead-end road to the Diamond Lake County Park access that we regraded and put the initial surfacing on last year. Bids were open for that project on June 25th of 2024. There were 5 bidders on the project, with Thielen Excavating out of Eden Valley being the low bidder. That low bid was $407,770.53. Work began early September of last year, which completed October 10th of last year, and they had a few minor punch list items to finish up this spring. Odds and ends there, and get the silt fence out to get that closed out. The financial impact here would be paying the $5,914.45 as the final retainage and the erodible acres withholding. The total cost of the project was under the contract amount by 3%, with a total of $395,425.10. As part of this project, the Public Works Department did receive a state park road account grant for the amount of $350,000 that will be used for the funding towards this project, with the remaining being local county funds on that. It'd be our recommendation at this time to accept the project and make final payment to Thielen Excavating.
All right, everybody heard the recommendation. What are your wishes?
Mr. Chair, I move that we make the final payment and we're glad it's all done and that's just great and I'm glad it came in under. And this is for project number 034600006, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I so move.
All right, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Commissioner Berg made the motion and Commissioner Dale Anderson made the second. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor of approving the final payment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Next item is, let's see here, where are we at? Is that the chloride one?
Yes, yes. Yes, next item is another final payment and acceptance. This is for the chloride application for this year. It was done this spring. It's our annual chloride contract that we let out. Bids for that was received on March 11th. There were 4 bidders on that contract, with Knife River Corporation of Sauk Rapids being the low bidder. Their bid was $245,850. This contract, if you remember, consists of the annual chloride application on approximately 300 areas on county gravel roads, measured about 300 feet by 18 feet wide, and also plus or minus 35 miles of gravel roads, continuous gravel roads in the county. The work was completed around the middle of May, or was completed, yeah, between the middle of May and the middle of June this year, which is pretty typical for an annual chloride application. Well, again, with this one here, looking for a financial impact of $5,606.94 to be paid as the final retainage on the contract. The total cost of this project was $237,499.29, which was 3.4% under the contract amount. It'd be our recommendation at this time to accept this project as well and make final payment to Knife River Corporation.
You guys heard the recommendation. What are your wishes?
Mr. Chair, also move that we do the final payment for the chloride.
Okay, a motion's been made by Commissioner Dale Anderson. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Berg made the second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I'm gonna be a weird one and do that.
Okay.
So Jeremy, my question is, do we ever go back on these high-traffic roads and, you know, we don't get snow like we used to, so we get open winters and we've got a lot of dust. Do we ever do a fall application of chloride ever, or is that just something we don't ever do?
Typically, we have not done a fall chloride application on those roads. One thing we are gonna be doing this winter is we're gonna reevaluate these stretches of long roadway that we're doing. You know, some of them are from a while ago where there was maybe like a trucking outfit located on a gravel road that's no longer existing there. You know, do we need to chloride that whole stretch of road anymore? There's other areas, like the event center up in northern part of the county that we did end up chloriding that road this year. So we're gonna do a little more evaluating on those longer stretches of gravel roads to see which ones we wanna do and which ones we wanna eliminate. Obviously, we'll keep with the spot chlorides in front of everybody's places, but no, the only time we've done a fall application is on our new grading jobs,
Okay.
where we've, you know, they've been a bituminous surface the whole time, and now we're gonna leave them with gravel through the winter, and so we will chloride those in the fall when we're done with that grading.
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
This is one of those items where people usually call me and go, when are they gonna put chloride on? Anyway, Commissioner Berg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can we repeat again how many miles you put on roughly?
Well, there's 300 spots within
300
the county,
spots, that's
which
what it
are,
was,
which are the
okay.
ones, if you wanna do it like in a farm place or a residential
So
area.
be-
And then there's 35 miles of continuous chloriding. You know, there might be 2 miles here or 3 miles there. We do all the chloriding off of a paved road, you know, for 100 or 150 feet back from a paved road. Those sorts of things add up for that 35. Yep.
like somebody just said, that I'm sure the people that get it done really appreciate it. That's good. Well
No,
said.
is there a way for individuals to get put on a list if they want to pay for it, where you normally don't put it down, or is there nothing, or don't you do anything like that?
We don't with this contract. It's gotta fall within a criteria. We believe, we use 250 feet from the center line of the road.
Okay.
You know, if you're outside further than that, you know, there are local people that chloride,
Okay,
and we usually direct them in that.
okay. I
That
suppose the
area to
payment
con-
part is the hard part.
Right, right. We're making a payment to the contractor and
Okay,
Yeah,
with all those different checks coming in and things like that.
okay,
yep.
all right. Well, thank you for that information. Okay, so I guess at this point, we will vote unless you have any more questions. Okay, I'll call the question. You heard what the recommendation was, and I guess we had a motion and a second, so those in favor of going with this here to make the final payment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion passes. Let's see, now we got overpass agreement.
Yes, this is the third and final one I have here. This is Resolution 2025-34, which the resolution is for authorizing Mel Odens, the Public Works Director, to sign off on associated agreements and easements with the Highway 55 highway rail separation project on the southwest part of town. We are getting very close with hopefully moving some dirt on that project. It is currently out for bid right now. We do have that project slated for a September 30th bid opening. And then the Commissioner's Award planned for the October 7th board meeting. But that is out for bids right now. We are now tying up all the loose agreements with Burlington Northern. There's an overpass agreement, which I did attach to the packet here. Inside of that, there's 3 other agreements and 3 other easements that go inside of that. It's mostly the aerial easement that we need to cross the railroad tracks. There's also conditions and exhibits associated with that, but there are a few signatures required with there, so we were looking for to have Mel Odens, the Public Works Director, authorized to sign those agreements associated with that project to keep things moving along and meet our timelines as needed. The financial impact of that project is shown there with the current funding sources. It is a roughly $11.5 million project with 4 separate funding sources set up currently, with the most coming from the Federal Rail Crossing Elimination Grant, and then the county local option sales tax that was set aside for that. We also received a state IIJA grant for a little under $2 million, and BNSF is kicking in $364,000 towards elimination of that crossing. Our recommendation would be to pass resolution 2025-34, authorizing the Public Works Director to execute any necessary agreements and or easements pertaining to the CSAH 55 highway rail separation project. Are there any questions?
I don't think there's no local money involved, it's all state or federal.
The sales
Well,
tax,
say-
Oh, sales tax.
yes. Yep.
Where's that? Which one?
That'd
Oh,
be the second
local
one.
options.
Yep.
Okay, I missed
Yep.
that one. All right. Any other questions?
No, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, but first off, I'd really like to say this is a big project. Not only big in dollar amount, but the project itself, and it's something that many people are very excited about. I'm glad it's happening now, and took a lot of time to get to this point.
Yes.
And I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2025-34.
All right, motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Commissioner Berg made the motion and Commissioner Dale Anderson made the second. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor of passing resolution 2025-34 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Should we continue on?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
We'll go to Planning Commission. Eric isn't, oh yeah, Eric is here. Okay. I was thinking about Gary Gear today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Eric Van Dyken, Canada County Zoning Administrator here before you today with a few agenda items from the Planning Commission meeting of September 8th. After a month off due to a lack of applications, they were hit with a few more this past month. So it was good for them to work through these. The first three that you will see in the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting are all very similar in nature. They're three solar gardens, 1 megawatt. These come through the Community Solar Garden Program. They're all generally Excel projects because it's an Excel specific program. They all happen to be on the Highway 7 corridor in the southwest corner of the county in Holland Township. There's an Excel line along there, and there also happens to be a fairly heavy end electrical user in the area that does tend to cluster some renewable in that area. The first two are actually reissuances of permits that were previously granted, and due to the challenges that can be associated with developing these, sometimes the grid interconnect agreements, sometimes product procurement, different things can delay these projects a little bit. Because we have a 1-year expiration, they ended up having to reapply for several. So I'll note the first one is an application of Novel Energy Solutions on a property owned by Randy and Don Post. It is just south of Highway 7, a couple miles east of Prindsburg. It has pretty standard conditions proposed, except for this one. It also has a screening planting due to a farm place relatively near it to the west, and that was the original condition there, added to our kind of couple standard ones for projects like that. So with those three conditions and proposed findings in the minutes, staff recommends approval as per the Planning Commission's recommendation.
Okay, you heard the recommendation. What are your wishes?
Also move.
Okay, Commissioner Dale Anderson made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Berg made the second. Is there any further
I
discussion?
do have a question.
And the motions with facts and findings, or conditions and findings.
There you go. Yes, I should have said that, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
And I know it's printed out, but maybe just for me to put it in my head and for everybody else to understand. The first condition is the decommissioning plan. Can you just do a high level of what that is or how that's? The only reason I ask, Eric, is that it was talked about a lot at a regional meeting we just had, that some of the counties are getting more concerned with it, and I just think that we have it in there and we've talked about it personally, me and you, but just put it back in my head on a high level.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Anderson. So decommissioning has to do with what do we do with a site when this gets to its end life. Typically, these are a 25-year lease, and these solar panels tend to lose some of their efficiency over time. So they're not there forever. And so the goal for both landowner and for the public is to say, well, we don't want that sitting there. And so they typically have a plan that basically says everything gets put back to original condition. In most of these cases, it gets put back to farmland. The nice thing about that is there's very little actual alteration that happens. Most of these have now just a driven metal pole, so there's no concrete removal. All the poles can be yanked and recycled. The biggest challenge that you'll see discussed is what is the development, the continuing development of the recycling market on panels themselves. And what we're seeing is that regulatorily, the state drives a lot of that. The state does not allow commercial sites to be landfilled, so this won't end up in Candiota County's landfill because that's illegal to dispose of them like that. And we're seeing that the market on that continues to develop and need to develop because you're seeing a lot more of these put in a lot of different places. Over time, that market will be driven probably some by regulation and some by just simple economics, right? When there's a need, when there's a demand, services arise and services become more efficient over time. So the goal here is to make sure that we're explicit that yes, these things can't just stay in the ground and be, community eyesore, similar to like how we would look at a gravel pit and say, hey, don't dig a hole and just leave it. So is that a fair
No,
summary?
that's great. That's exactly what I was looking for.
All right, Commissioner Berg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are we close at all to having to decommission yet? I mean, we still got a few years on most of them.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Berg. We would be quite a ways away yet. I would say one of the earliest would be the Aurora project, of which we weren't actually regulators of it, but it's the earliest big one that went in by Atwater. It's part of a dispersed larger project. The state viewed it as one project, but it was in different locations. That would be probably one of the earliest large-scale applications in the county, and I would say that's probably 10 years on or so. So we got a ways to go. I mean, theoretically, some of these could also potentially be repowered. We see that in wind, of course. I mean, if the infrastructure is there and they decide, well, rather than decommission, we will repower, they could change their plan to a repower plan, which would mean take off the old panel, put on a new panel. It's hard to say what the economics of that will be, 25 years down the road.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay, you've made a motion and second to approve this item with the conditions and findings as recorded here by the Planning Commission. So if there's no further discussion, we will vote, and those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. The next application is that also of Novel Energy Solutions. This is on property owned by Charles and Jerry Ladebor. This is just west of Prenzburg, also a reissuance. We did add one condition to be a little bit more explicit. Originally, this had 3 conditions. First 2 pretty standard. The third one had to do with City of Prenzburg's infrastructure. They have stormwater and sanitary sewer infrastructure that travels through that property on its way to the Judicial Ditch or Chatumba Creek. And so we did require that they stay away from that so that the city needs to maintain that, fix it, they can do that without impediment. We also were a little bit more explicit as to a setback in consultation with our drainage manager, Austin Hilbrands, on what would be the best. They actually had 75 feet. We bumped them out 5 feet, which was really no impact to them, to make sure that we have good clearance. That was the best that Austin could determine the original spoil there, which is kind of how you judge those things. And so we wanted to make that real explicit, to staying away from there for the purposes of that judicial ditch maintenance. So with those 4 conditions and the findings, as you see, staff recommends approval.
Mr. Chair, I so move on this with the 4 conditions and 8 findings.
All right, a motion's been made by Commissioner Berg. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion's been made and seconded. So my question would be regarding the drainage ditch. So you have a setback for that. Do you guys double check with, like, say, Austin, if there's county tile? Because I know down by Lakeland, we had an issue with one at one time, and it took a while. I think it's finally resolved, but would they
Yes.
look at that and
Thank
make
you,
sure
Commissioner.
that it's being looked at, and so that there's setbacks on them as well?
For sure, yeah. All applications will review that. And back in the day when I used to consult with Lauren, the county's original version of the digital layer on our GIS for ditches was not the greatest by Lauren's reckoning. And so Lauren would usually tell me, hey, that's not a great resource. What Austin has been able to tell me is, hey, we've had some really good upgrades in that digital data. And so now it's even easier, whereas before I had to kind of look at a map and then guess a little bit more. This has the added benefit, of course, of all of our layers, and you can incorporate that data with the others. So yeah, we do, matter of fact, basically on every single land use thing, I approve every little permit. I have kind of my standard layers. I go down on the GIS and check on and off floodplain, all sorts of different things to say, hey, what is this? I always turn the LiDAR on to see if there's anything geographically interesting that I should account for. And ditches and public drainage is always one of those layers I turn on to make sure that we're not running into a problem.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is there any other questions? Okay, if not, we will call the question. Those in favor of this here recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. We got another one here.
Thank you. Yes, one more from Novel Energy. This is for Dave and Jolene Rushin. Property just a little bit further west. We proceeded to east to west on Highway 7, and we're almost out of the county now. We're right on the Chippewa County line. There is a solar project just past it in Chippewa County, and there's actually another one on the Rushin property, previously permitted and constructed. This will kind of sit in between those two. No testimony, no concerns, two straightforward conditions, and the recommendation with the findings as well. So with those, the staff recommends approval.
Mr. Chair, I'll move on this one with the conditions and findings.
Okay, Commissioner Dale Anderson made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Berg seconded. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We have another item.
Thank you. Moving out of solar, we move into the first of two small excavations. This is an application by Craig Hansen. It's on property owned by Chad Haugen. This would be just north, a little ways of Green Lake, outside of a shoreland district, but I would say roughly a half a mile north, or somewhere between a quarter and a half north of the lake. What happened here is that Mr. Hansen in his work was doing business for Mr. Haugen in building site prep. And he discovered, you have some really good rock on your site. And they said, you know what if we were to exploit in the non-pejorative sense, exploit this resource, in particular 4-inch and larger rock that has some particular value and is a little harder to come by sometimes. This is an area under our county aggregate resource map that has high aggregate resource potential. So, the county asked the DNR, hey, map this and tell us what areas are good. This falls into one of these pretty good areas. What Mr. Hansen proposes is a relatively short-term and small-scale operation. He would come in, hopefully this fall yet, mine out about 5 acres plus or minus, take it out, screen out the larger rock, ship it out, and then recover the site in the spring. So most of the shipping would hopefully occur during the winter when the road is the most stable. And then they would get it reclaimed for the landowner in the spring. So he had said 10 months. We did the proposals to lengthen it to 12 just to give a little bit of fudge factor in there so we're not kind of, struggling with them right at the end there. And so there's a few other things I would note in here. I did have a chance to talk to the township Chair Doug Dietz a little bit about it. Didn't really have any concerns. We talked through some road things, in particular behind some of the conditions that are pretty typical for aggregate operations or mining operations. You'll notice right in the middle around some of the conditions around like Hall Road on 9, 10, and 11 are particular to a couple things. A, saying that the Hall Road must proceed to the north. There was concern, obviously, that we don't want North Shore Drive, a heavily residential area, becoming in and out Hall Road for all these heavy trucks unnecessarily. There's no project in the area. Hey, we should send them north to the county road. And then also, it just so happens Mr. Hansen is the contracted agent to put chloride on that road already for the township. So he has a relationship with them. And so we just made clear that, hey, if you make more dust control necessary, you are responsible for that on that township road. And we'll do that in consultation with the township. And then number 11 there, just making sure that it's clear also that if they were to damage that Hall Road, they are responsible for that damage and fixing of it. So that ended up then with conditions 1 through 13. And with those conditions and the attached findings, staff recommends approval.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to comment, very thoroughly, very well, very thorough review here. And you've been all over the county, haven't you, with all these? So I move with all the findings, the 13 findings and the conditions, to approve Mr. Hansen's request.
There's a motion by Commissioner Berg. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. As far as discussion, I just have one question. It says something about to be, everything put back within 2 months of the end date or whatever. Is there an end date in here or?
Yes, in condition number 2. The validity is for a year.
Okay,
Yep.
I see,
And-
okay, because that, we usually don't have an end date, so
Yeah,
I just kind of was.
there's a little bit of a difference on gravel mining.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a longer legal talk to have, but there is some precedence on operations like gravel mining that can be sunsetted, especially when the applicant requests it.
Okay, all right. If there's is there any further discussion? Otherwise, we'll call the question. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion passes.
Thank you. Going to request number 5, then this is from Joseph Pierce. It's JDDJ LLC landowner. That's a Pierce Family Corporation or LLC. This is a smallish clay mining operation, which is a little different for us. In this instance, the Pierces bought the property, and it had been there's a large hill on the back of the agricultural land, kind of a big, I mean, some people might call it a hog's back type of situation as far as a landform. It was historically scratched into and used for some borrow when they had bought it. When they bought it, they saw that opportunity to borrow some for a couple bin projects they had. They used that. Then they were approached by an area mining operation that had aggregate, but were struggling in their Class 5 mix to get more binder in it. And this apparently is good sandy clay that makes a good binder to mix in for a Class 5 material. And so they have a market for that. They also have no use for the hill because they're farmers, and they'd rather the hill be not a hill anymore. And so a relatively small operation as well at 7 acres, it may or may not proceed quickly. It depends for them on the demand for this particular contractor. So it's small scale, again, like the last one, a little bit more time indefinite as far as end date, but 10 fairly standard conditions again. And with those 10 conditions and the findings, staff recommends approval.
What are your thoughts, everybody?
Mr. Chair, I'll move on the Pierce condition with all the conditions and findings.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Dale Anderson. Is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Berg makes a second. It sounds like a small project, but 7.5 acres when you're moving soil, that's a big project still. I mean, in my mind anyway. But it's almost like a regrading project in a way.
Yes, in the end, their reclamation plan is nothing more complicated than make it level essentially with the field, push black dirt back over it, and yay, now we get to farm it instead of look at a hill. So it is a regrade of sorts. It's the commercial nature of it, especially that brings in the land use consideration. If it was kind of a personal borrow site, really that's a little more, I would say, incidental in the land use consideration. So not a quarter section of mining, but certainly something for us to be aware of and properly permit.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, we have a motion and a second, so, Commissioner Dale Anderson.
And this doesn't really matter, but I'm just curious, by looking at the map, was there any concerns from any of the neighbors? I mean, did they have any concerns with that hill being not there?
There was no testimony received either in writing or by a call to me or at the public hearing.
Okay, nope, that's all I was wondering. Great.
All right, well, you heard the motion, and so I'll call the question. Those in favor of approving this permit signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now we have one left.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Sixth and final request before you today is that of Logan Hansen. This parcel is located in Little Crow Park, just north of Green Lake, southeast of New London a little bit, in that little residential, kind of a real hilly development back in there. This is at Mr. Hansen's home site, which is a necessary condition of what he's doing here because he's proposing a home extended business. This is an application where he hopes to do light manufacturing of some firearm components, some possible assembly as well. In order to do that, he needs approval through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. He needs licensing from them. One of their licensing things that they do is typical kind of like if somebody wants to sell cars, they need authorization, they check locally and say, are they authorized to do this in this location? And so he's going through this process. He would have no outside employees, no signage. This is not a gun store in the way that people might think. Like Spicer has 3, I think, different places where you can go. There's a display case, there's a bunch of guns, you can come and, handle one and buy it. This is not that type of an operation. He would be proposing to ship parts and some weapons, mostly through courier, through other FFLs would receive it, or other licensed dealers would receive it. Background checks are all done, et cetera. He would like the freedom to do a handful of face-to-face transactions, mostly with, family and close associates. So you'll note in the proposed conditions that there's a limitation of 10 of those per year in the proposed condition there to basically, and that helps us to just codify the fact that this is not a place where, it's a weekend and you got the stream of traffic coming in to, browse through a store and check out the things there and do hand-to-hand transactions there. That's not the goal. So in other words, this is the kind of thing that people would ride by and not know it's there typically. The Planning Commission did recommend 4 4 conditions. Of course, part of a home occupation is that you have to live there and run that business. You don't get to be some absentee. There's no outside employees allowed, so it's just him in his garage. 10 transactions on site per year, meeting all ATF requirements, and also then finally no on-site test firing of firearms, so that this is not, some sort of either peace or safety potential impact in the neighborhood due to the firing of firearms related to that use. So with those 4 conditions and the findings as you see there, the Planning Commission staff recommends approval.
Okay, you heard the recommendation. What are your wishes?
Mr. Chair, I'll move Logan Hansen's permit with the conditions and findings.
A motion's been made by Commissioner Dale Anderson. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Berg made the second. Is there any further discussion? To me, it looks like it's almost like kind of like a guy that likes to tinker a little bit more, but it's with firearms in this case, and real specialized type of thing. So,
Mr. Chair?
yes.
Yes, I had the same thoughts as well. It looks like it's a small garage, and it is limited at 10 transactions. If his business did take off, then he'd have to come back to request additional changes, correct?
That's correct as far as the on-site. Now, this doesn't limit him
Yes.
totally to 10 transactions. This would be on-site, face-to-face, so as to limit, the potential impact of like, we don't want this to be a retail thing on-site that changes the nature of the residential neighborhood. Because that's one of the things of home occupations in general, is that we ask this broader question of, hey, a certain level of entrepreneurship in and around the home can be encouraged as long as we have an expectation that, hey, we don't turn this neighborhood into something it wasn't before and that people wouldn't expect. So he would, if he wanted to do more on site, that would have to be requested to change.
Thank you for clarifying that.
All right, well, we have a motion on the floor. Let's, I guess I'll call the question. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. I think that's everything.
Thanks for your patience.
All right,
Eric.
let's take a little recess, about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, we're back in session. Basically, all our regular stuff is pretty much done. We just have administrative updates, appointments, calendars, and committee reports. And as far as the administrator goes, there's really nothing to update.
No, I would just, I would say we have the special board meeting for the budget next Tuesday, September 23rd, at 9 a.m. here in the County Board of Commissioners room. And then at the following meeting, the regular board meeting will be following the regular board meeting will be a Health and Human Services work session, October 7th, 2025.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other, do you guys have anything? Commissioner Dale Anderson.
Yeah, I could talk about a couple things. We had the fundraiser for Prairie Woods on the 4th of September, Prairie Stars event, and they did very good and got quite a bit of money raised through that event to keep that organization going. It was kind of a packed house. There was maybe a little bit of room left at the event, but interesting to just to see how people do support that mission of the preschool especially. I'm always a little hesitant about the preschool part, but there is definitely community support, and it looks like it's gonna be full for this coming fall for enrollment in that. The interesting thing that I was sitting next to a lady actually that did the entertainment, and they have their children in that preschool. And she said the thing that she loved the most, and I know they got this money through a grant, was that they don't have to bring extra clothes. So all the clothes, outside clothes are furnished, whether it's a rain gear, snowmobile suits, boots, gloves, caps, whatever it is that they put on to go outside was all furnished through a grant that they got. So these parents don't have to pack a suitcase to get these kids on these weird days where it's muddy or wet or cold or whatever. And that was the thing that she talked about, that she really appreciated that aspect of it. So it was fun to hear somebody's insight that it actually had children of that age. The only other thing I had was the Middle Fork of the Crow River meeting was on the 9th, and they are doing, starting to get closer doing the Mongolia Dam project, and looking like that's coming along. Nothing real major there. And then the fall policy, had great discussion with a few people at the fall policy on garbage. I went and talked to the lady that did present on the garbage, and that was really interesting. Just to hear how things are done different down in the cities compared to how we do them out here, and different things to look at if it was ever possible to do some things different. I enjoy that meeting. It seems like it gives you a chance to visit with people one-on-one, and it's a good meeting. I don't know if the facility was the best, but they got to find and figure that out and see what they can do with that. But that's all I had. Like I said, last night I was going to go to the Prairie Woods meeting, but things didn't work, so that was the only other meeting I had.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Burt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First off, I had a Prime West meeting. I attended on the 4th, and just some background information. Jim Przybilla, if I'm pronouncing that right, I think, had resigned, is going to resign or retire, let's put it that way, on May 31st of 2026. And it's very early to make this announcement, but the feeling is with a large organization like this, that there needs to be some time to help train somebody in and have a very effective transition. Jim has been a CEO there since 2001, so he's been there for a lot of time and has a lot of information to pass on. The interesting thing, and what I really want to make the announcement about now is on our September 4th meeting, the Joint Powers Board of Directors, which I'm a representative for our county on, had a meeting, and we had a discussion, and the executive team committee of the Joint Powers Board did meet with an individual, and after extensive questions and knowing this individual who had been working there for since 2007, he has 19 years experience with Prime West, as well as during those many years, He has moved around and worked in many other different departments in Prime West. Anyway, I'd like to share that there was an extensive discussion and all very, very positive. And the board unanimously appointed Mr. Matt Magnuson as the new future CEO of the company, and he will take effect on June 1st, 2026. So I just want to let everybody know about that. It's kind of an exciting thing as we go forward, and feeling that this is going to be a very smooth transition. I had a Hawk Creek Project picnic. I don't too often get to go to a picnic as a commissioner, but the Hawk Creek Project does an annual picnic, and thanking a lot of people who help out with Hawk Creek Project. And every year it's in Maynard. And we moved it up this year to Friday the 5th, thinking because last year was kind of cold out there, and normally the second Friday. Well, I don't know if you all remember, but the 5th was very, very cold. I had long johns on, actually. But we still grilled some hamburgers and visited for a while. It was really good to touch bases and thank the people that are involved in that. I had a Health and Human Service Committee meeting, and Dwayne was part of that. Commissioner Dwayne Anderson was part of that as well. It was a very interesting meeting, and we had some conversation about AI, and I think we're going to be hearing more at the board about AI. And there's some, I'm looking forward to hearing that in the future. So it's kind of a heads up, more to come on AI and Health and Human Services. And we all had our conference we went to as well. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Berg. So my appointment, or my committees were Health and Human Services. It was on the 8th of September, and like Commissioner Berg had mentioned about AI, there was a presentation they gave there, and that's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out. It's part of our goal of becoming more efficient and to save money, because there's, federal and state dollars are getting tighter. And so it's kind of one of our ways to look at becoming more efficient, I guess. And then I had the fall policy conference like everybody else from the 9th through the 12th. I had to leave early on the 12th because I had a Central Minnesota Jobs and Training meeting. The part I can report with that is we are basically back on track. All we're waiting for is for DEED to finish up looking at the audit and give us the thumbs up that we're all back to normal. But basically everything it's just, they just got to check the last box. So that's all I have.
Mr. Chair, just really one other follow-up. We had a special meeting with the PAC4 Executive Board and the Operational Board as well. And the meeting was concerning some grants that are coming due, and hopefully we get refunded by the end of this month. It's the 30th. So we're just kind of sitting there crossing our fingers. And these are federal grants we're talking about. So the concern is this going to come through? And it's unfortunate that you have to wait until almost the last minute to find out. So it could be a big impact if it doesn't, but we'll be thinking positive.
All right. Well, thank you. I just want to say one more thing. We do have nice weather. I know the 5th was cold because I was camping on that week.
That's why.
And actually I had to go to the tent. The kids were in the tent before that, but I had to go there because they were too cold, and it was a chilly night. But anyway, so I just want to say for people, there's a lot of mental health issues going on in this country right now. But just if things get to you, just turn off social media, turn off your TVs, go outside. There's some nice weather left, and enjoy the good weather. Enjoy the great natural resources we have in our county, and just kind of enjoy it. We have a great country. Just go out there and enjoy it. Don't let all the social issues get to you. So with that, I think there's no more items to be brought before us, so we will be adjourned.
Well